Hi everyone. Today I want to look at a student essay and I want to look at task response and coherence and cohesion. We're not going to look at the grammar or the vocabulary scores in this video, but we are going to look at those first two. So if you want to do this as we go, you can download the simplified task 2 band descriptor down below, and there's a link, as well as the essay on the blog. You can see what this particular student wrote. Remember, all of the information on the simplified band descriptor on the side here does come from the public band descriptors from IELTS.org. Let's go ahead and start. Okay, so here is the student essay on the left and the simplified band descriptors on the right. Again, we will only focus on task response and coherence and cohesion. Let's first look at the task. It says, some people think that giving children a weekly allowance teaches them a value of saving and personal finance. Others claim that children don't need money and should find odd jobs if they want extra money. Which opinion do you agree with? So, first thing is identify the task type. What type of essay is this? What two body paragraphs does the writer need to write? Pause the video if you need to. Think about it. Okay, so this is an opinion essay right here. That means the writer needs to have, well, two body paragraphs about the opinion. Go ahead, pause the video, and read the student essay and judge their task response and cohesion. Remember, the IELTS only gives whole scores for the band. So a task response will only be a 4, a 5, 6, or 7. It will not be a 5.5 for task response. It will not be a half band score for coherence and cohesion. So try it. Read through this, see what you would mark them for this, and come back when you're done. Okay, so for task response, I think the writer is at a 5. The reason is because this essay is an opinion essay. The writer needs to have one of two opinions. They need to explain why they agree with option A, giving children a weekly allowance teaches them about saving and personal finance, or they need to explain why they agree with option B. Children don't need an allowance and they should get odd jobs if they want the extra money. The writer seems to have treated this essay like a to what extent or discuss both sides. They do express an opinion, but when you have an opinion essay, you must choose one of these two opinions. You can't say it's not a to what extent essay where you could say, I partly agree with this. You have to say, I agree with either A or B. Now, let's start down here at the bottom. Let's start with ideas. The writer has some main ideas. It's not difficult to identify the main ideas. It is not. You see right here that deserve to receive a weekly allowance because it can educate them. And they explain why that is useful, necessary because it gives kids experience to face problems in the future. So they have a main idea. We can see it. Same thing in the second body paragraph. They shouldn't do daily chores, but we cannot say these are relevant main ideas. Again, this is an opinion essay. So these two paragraphs, the ideas do express an opinion, but it's not very coherent. And this opinion seems to be contradictory to each other. That means body paragraph 1 says one thing, while body paragraph 2 says the opposite thing. They don't seem to agree. I would say they do have some ideas, but they may not be sufficiently developed. They need some help. They need to be more on task and having a unified opinion. Next, let's go ahead and look at opinion position. So this, again, we just talked about opinion. Yeah, they do give a position. They have an opinion, but it needs some development. It's sometimes unclear because, well, at times they seem to say children should get an allowance, and then they say they shouldn't. Parents shouldn't require do chores in exchange for money. It could be clear, and it may need a little bit of adjustment so it makes sense. Now, I do want to say their conclusions, this part here, conclusions made, this is actually pretty good. They did well on this part because the conclusions made talks about what the why of the ideas. So, why do children deserve a weekly allowance? Because it will teach them how to use their money carefully. They will use this knowledge later in life as adults and when they face problems in the future. So they explain the why of their ideas. They give the conclusions. If this, then this. Down here, the same thing. They explain their ideas. They draw some conclusions about their ideas and the effects of these ideas. So parents should not pay children for money. Why? Why is that valid or important? Well, because they could always ask for a reward even though it's their responsibility. They shouldn't do this because it's their responsibility. So they did well on that. Ultimately, I can't say they address all. They did not have a clear opinion. It's not unified enough, and it seems like they discussed both sides, which was not the task. I wouldn't say it's a minimal response. I would not say it's tangential, which means it talks about random, unrelated ideas. This certainly has a response, but I think it's just the wrong response. It was a partial response. Okay, let's move on to coherence and cohesion. Okay, so for coherence and cohesion, I think they are at a 6. The reason is because these body paragraphs are fairly good. The one big problem that I see, the one thing I would really give a 5 is organization. There's some organization, but there are some bad things. And what I really think stands out is there are parts where it's a little contradictory. And this could also be part of the ideas, but what I see is I don't think parents should pay for their kids to do chores. Yet, it says deserve a weekly allowance. These seem like opposite ideas. Down here, you see it says, I don't think parents should give kids money for daily chores in exchange for money, da da da. Then down here it says, therefore it would be better to give special chores. This part, I understand what they mean by this last idea here, special chores, but it could be a little clearer because it does seem contradictory. So this may be more of a reflection about irrelevant ideas in terms of task response, but the organization, it could be better, or it could be organized a little bit better, I feel. Now, in terms of progression, do their ideas develop? I think there is a clear progression despite these two parts that seem to disagree with each other. There is some progression because they say children deserve a weekly allowance, save money, opportunity to manage their finance, learn how to differentiate between what they want and need. These are all great things that help progress their idea. Why do they need a weekly allowance? Well, it will teach them non-essential items. And while saving, they will manage their finances and learn what they need. Therefore, they will be able to better face problems in the future. That's great. That's all good examples of progression. Let's unhighlight this bit we don't need. Now, down here in the second body paragraph, you see some more progression. They shouldn't get money because in exchange for chores. Why? Because it's their responsibility as a family member. bad thing. For example, it can create motivation. However, they may also refuse to do the chores. These are all examples of progression, and that's great. Cohesive devices. There someone could say there is some inaccurate use, which absolutely seems to be, but I would say they are effective. And I mean that. Let's unhighlight some of these parts so it's not confusing. Why I want to say they have effective use of referencing words, we have for example. And that's a good example. Therefore, which is, it's correctly used. Because, okay, these are all good things that I would like to say that is 6. Referencing this, referencing, and I do agree this is a 6. This is when you refer to other words without referencing the exact same thing. Now, you could say it's a 5, you could say it's a 6. Let's discuss both numbers. It could be a 5 because the writer uses the same terms up here as they do in their opening statement. For example, right here it says, teaches them the value of saving and personal finance, and we see this right down here, the value of saving and personal finance. This is bad because it's the same words. This is not referencing, right? They are not paraphrasing. They are using the exact same words. However, there are some good things about their referencing. We see that they use kids. Where's the other one? They use children. Children. They use kids again. And then they use children again as well. Children. So they try to break up their words a little bit. Down here, they do a better job with referencing. So they say they for children, do it, which is for chores, even though it should be them because chores is plural. That would be a grammar mistake. As well as, no, this is just a phrase, they again. So there is some good referencing, but this first part with the introduction could knock them down. All right, last paragraph, arranged logically, indeed, yes. I would actually say, I would almost want to say there is a clear central topic in each paragraph. The problem is these paragraphs, the reason this wouldn't be a 7 is because of these other things. The progression, the cohesive devices, the referencing, the organization. But there is a clear topic. They deserve a weekly allowance because they should get one. Second one, they should not because of Okay, guys. So this is the end of our little discussion here. Thank you very much for watching. I'm not going to get into the lexical and grammar sections for this, but I do want to point out these 2 concession statements that I think are good vocabulary structures. Concession statement is simply saying, while I think one thing is true, I think the opposite is also true. So while children should expand their knowledge about finance from an early age, I don't think parents should pay for them to do chores. Down here, an allowance can create motivation for kids to do household chores. However, they may refuse to do it when they save enough money. So both things are true, but they are opposite, and that's a great grammar structure to use. Remember, you can download the writing band descriptor as well as view this writing yourself on the links below. Thank you, and have a good one. Bye-bye, guys.